was impacted by the freeze events. And on behalf of my company and our CEO, Ken McDuffie, who regrets he's not able to be here, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to hear our concerns and learn about what's going on the farm.
Right. So. Well, first of all, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for organizing this. And I want to thank Matt and Mike Joyner for help bring all this together. And so I remember from starting with my primary back in 2010 to my time as governor, I learned a lot about all the problems the ag industry has in different parts of it. And one thing you find out pretty early is that the federal government's not been a great partner for Florida. A lot of the programs that the federal government has, don't cover Florida crops. And so every time we had a disaster, it was a pain in the butt to go get relief. Because the federal ag programs, I guess so. You do. Every program seems like it's a row crop program rather than, whether it's what's happened in the citrus industry or whether it's happened to our forestry industry, or then, during the Biden administration, they wouldn't give us block grants. The first Trump term, when I was governor, we were able to put the money out through Adam Putnam's office, so it went much faster that way, and we still followed all the federal rules. So I tell everybody we do have a partner with Trump. He does care about farmers and ranchers, which is positive. Secretary Rollins has been a good partner so far. I tried while I was governor in the first term of Trump to try to deal with the tomato issue with Mexico, and finally Letnick was one phone call changed that. So you just wonder why these people get these jobs and why don't they get something done? Why would you want to have any of these jobs and not getting something done? But look, I called Letnick and he said no. He said, good for Florida? Okay, well, I'll do it. So of course it's good for us and it's good for the country. So the big thing is I've got a good team. A lot of you know Clayton Stein. Clayton's from Belglades originally. But I have a good team, and we have good working relationship with all the Trump administration, and we will have we're going to get stuff done. The most likely way we'll get it done is through reconciliation, because the only reason that works is you don't need any Democrat votes. So the way reconciliation works, it can only be a budgetary item. It's only supposed to be mandatory, but you can make anything you want mandatory, which is probably the only way we're going to fix Homeland Security, is we're going to make all their funding mandatory, and then we can fund it for the next 10 years, which is probably what we're going to do. I'm on the budget committee, which, so hopefully all this will get done. Lindsey Graham's the chair. I know Lindsey's focused on this, so it's all good. But I got, at least we have an administration that wants to be helpful. So that's different than what we had before. So, but I can answer any questions. Lauren, you probably want to say something to start.
Well, thank you all for having me here today, and you, Senator Scott. I really want to thank you. I just trying to finish my 6th year representing Hendry County, and you have been an incredible supporter. You are very gracious with your time. You have been out on the lake when you really didn't have time to be out on the lake, you and Mrs. Scott. So thank you for being here today and for letting everyone know just how important Hendry County is to you.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
Yes, it is.
It's home.
Yeah, it's a nice place. So the big thing is I can't solve problems I don't know about. So be as vocal. You can, most everybody here has my cell number, so you can call me. If not, Eric will give it to you, or some of the other people will give it to you, Jeff or Gaston. But call me directly, or you can call Clayton. But if something's not getting done, you tell us, because we'll work on it. So that I know. Open it up to anybody. Yeah.
Senator, kind of just to echo, I think here today, kind of wearing a broader hat for the Florida Ag Coalition, which is conglomeration of kind of all the different ag entities. I mean, thank you for all that you've done. I know it wasn't hurricanes this year, but we certainly had one heck of a freeze that we had never seen before. And it kind of, as you see the pictures around the room and you talk to our other commodity groups, the nursery, again.
Everybody got hit.
Everybody got hit in a different way.
Yeah.
In a very different way. I know with hurricanes, we look at
You could see it driving across today.
Absolutely. So, as we move forward, I know Eric and others have been very vocal about how can we get money into the hands of our State Department of Ag to do some freeze disaster supplemental type funding. It would be hugely helpful. I think our estimates were, the commissioner's estimates were worth of $1 billion when you look at all the crops.
$3 billion.
$3 billion, yeah, with estimate.
So anything that you and your colleagues can do to help with that funding would be tremendously helpful for us.
The positive is the Trump administration will do block grants. The Biden administration wouldn't do it. I actually tried to get legislation passed, and I got every Republican on board. And at the last second, even Democrats that had been for block grants, the Biden administration talked them out of support it. So, because I could have gotten it passed. We're talking to everybody, but any new funding, I think the only way it's going to get done is through the reconciliation, because I think we have a shot to get the Farm Bill done this year. I think Senator Bozeman's working hard on it, but I know we'll get reconciliation to it. Because we have to do it to fund Homeland Security. It's the only way it's going to get funded.
And Senator, through the years, in your time as governor, now in your time as senator, you've been a leader when the state's been hit by major disasters like hurricanes, et cetera. What makes this freeze so much worse than hurricanes of the past and freezes of the past is the duration and the scale of the temperatures. It was 100% of the farm, not just parts of the farm.
Yeah.
So it hurts us a little bit deeper than just a brush off the top of the crops. So it's you'll hear that from a lot of folks in this group today. But it's USDA Secretary Rollins has declared it a federal disaster, and I think your support in Congress through reconciliation is what this group will echo. We need, and we're hoping to get across the line.
Yep.
I think I echo Eric's comments. He said it wasn't just one day or one night. It was multiple days,
Yep.
series of days, very, very cold, and it was very extensive. For sugarcane, the harder part is gauging what the damage is going to be for next year as well, because we still have cane in the ground that we've harvested. As you know, we keep harvesting the same cane, and we have a lot of cane that we had just planted this year that we've lost. So for sugarcane, it's a multiple years of losses that we're gonna experience. It's hard to gauge what the actual loss will be. We know that there is a loss. Obviously, we're seeing it in our harvest as we're finishing up here over the next month. We're seeing what those losses for this year. But the hard part is trying to estimate what is the loss going to be next year. What do we need to replant?
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Can you figure out what you have to replant?
They are. I mean,
They're figuring it out.
Figuring that out. Yeah.
Everything we planted in September that grew for 5-6 months, we've had to mow to the ground. So that you lose 6 months of growing time.
Does it kill the plant?
It doesn't completely kill the plant. Your root stock, we were able to, the district worked well with us to raise the water table. The root stock was protected, but everything above ground was frozen solid. It was completely dead.
Yeah.
Now we got hit with all this rain these last couple of weeks where we've been shut down. We haven't been able to harvest because we can't get out in the fields. But one thing that I can't let this moment pass without, you mentioned Lake Okeechobee. If it weren't for then Governor Scott accelerating the work around Lake Okeechobee, they might still be working on the dike. And it was your effort to put state dollars in back then that accelerated
And
that
we
project.
got Trump.
Got it done.
We got Trump to put up the Fed. My first meeting with him after he was sworn in. So
Thank
we
you
got the
for all of
commitment,
your efforts.
and we got it. Mick Mulvaney helped because we got the $800 million, and then but it helped because we got this. The legislature was supportive. We put up the $100 million to start with.
Sometimes we forget some of those efforts in the past.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
appreciative.
Yeah, we got a lot. We actually got quite a bit done. We got the storm treatment areas done. We got the dike. So we the Kissimmee River Basin. We got a lot of stuff done. I remember the first meeting with you guys right after I got into racing 10. I knew nothing about Lake Okeechobee at the time. I learned a lot pretty fast. And then we had the lawsuits we had to settle. You guys remember that?
Do.
We had 4 different federal agencies, and they wouldn't talk to each other. So, but we got it done. So, and it worked.
Senator Matt Joyner, Florida Citrus.
How's it going?
Good to see you. And I'll echo everyone's comments. We're thankful for you being here today, but honestly, just grateful for your help over the years. I mean, you've been a strong supporter of Florida agriculture and certainly Florida citrus. And we've had a tough couple of decades in our industry, starting with greening really back in the early 2000s and compounded by too many hurricanes. I don't know if I can even keep count anymore. And now this freeze. And it was a 7th generation Polk County, and everything around us was citrus and cattle, so a lot of life is defined by the 89 freeze and really the freezes of the 80s with the citrus industry. It's when the industry moved south that we saw so many changes in the industry, and this freeze was unlike anything we've seen, in decades, really probably since the 80s, and we know that it's going to be long-term, much like sugar. It's not a one-year impact to us. We don't plow our trees under and replant. Matter of fact, as we replant, it takes us 5 years to start cash flowing. The good news is we've been making tremendous progress through the research funding that you supported on the state level when you were there, and then that you continue to support on the federal level, and have a lot of not final solutions, but ways to be productive and profitable even in a greening endemic environment, whether it's some of the therapies or some of the breeding solutions that have come out of years of trials. And growers are starting to see that. This year was going to be a real...
What was going to be? What were you going to get back up to?
Well, so from a box count overall, because we've lost so many acres and we've replanted, I don't think it's a fair assessment. We probably would be about where we ended last season, 12 million boxes or so. But on a per acre basis, I'll give you an example. I was talking to one of my growers at our board meeting, and they had just harvested a 400-acre block that, because of the freeze, probably 50% of that fruit had hit the ground, and they were still going to be up 70%. So on a per acre basis, not only is the harvest a lot better, but you're talking about 6-pound solid oranges instead of 4.5 pounds. So, old school fruit with quality fruit.
I remember my first year we were, I think we were in Polk County, and remember we did the estimate for the year.
Mm-hmm. That's
with
right.
Adam.
Absolutely, yes. And we've quit doing it. It's so depressing. But but anyway, we're really starting to see a way forward for this industry. We put about 2.5 million trees in the ground over the last few years as an industry. A lot of those young trees will not make it as a result of the freeze. So some of that investment for the future we've been making, we just lost,
But the mature trees?
The mature trees, it's a mixed bag, but we're actually seeing a little bit more signs of life than maybe what we had thought we would. Now, whether that means they're going to be productive next year, I don't know. And of course, we're always harvesting a crop and setting a crop at the same time. So we lost a lot of that early bloom and fruit. So it's going to impact what we're able to harvest next year. And really, we find as a tree crop the stress on the trees. A lot of times when you have to cut back, prune, you've lost your foliage, and it takes a while for these trees to recover. So it's a multi-year event to get out of these things, much like what Sugar was sharing. And so
that's positive on greening, though.
It is very positive, and I guess that's sort of our message is, to be able to stay the course on the recovery efforts that we've got going in this industry. We're still 200,000 acres strong, which is a large single commodity in the state. And we have a lot of acreage that is in the fallow acre compliance agreements that were put forward by the state several years ago when you were still there. And so growers that would like to come back online and will, as we have these therapies and new varieties that are going into the ground. And so any relief that we can get as a result of the freeze is going to go directly back into investing in rebuilding this industry and recovery. So we're hopeful and want to work with you to try to move forward on some of that.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Just so we can confuse you, Mike Joyner, Florida Fruit Industrial Association, real quick, Senator, first. Thank you
Where I
for
met
se-
both of you with Adam.
That's exactly right.
Both.
You separated the two of us, so if you don't think that got confusing. But first, and sincerely, I want to thank you for your sacrifice. Say the same to you. You did it very well for 8 years, too. But it's not lost on us, the sacrifice you made. You mentioned a new grandchild, and that's a sacrifice to leave the house when you've got that at home. Secondly, you've got a reputation of having a great staff. Yes, Clayton, we all know and love Clayton. But you're, from top to bottom, you've got that reputation. Bob Graham, Senator Graham used to have that same reputation. You've got it. So for that, thank you. Disaster money. The FX numbers, I think, are very accurate. One of the things I appreciate about them is they work with us to get those numbers. We get out in the field, we feed them what we're hearing, and they use that. So that's, to me, that those numbers, when you hear that 3 billion number, it's an accurate number. We talked a lot about cane today, but blueberries, devastating. There's a new variety called Sharper that we're very excited about. Devastating. Comes in earlier, a bigger piece of
Strawberries.
Strawberries, towards the end of their season, so not quite as bad. Tomatoes and others.
Tomatoes
sweet corn,
devastated, right?
A lot of you guys are going sweet corn in here. It's all going to come in at the same time, and the price is probably going to be not very
Everything
good.
was all the normal crops got hit. None of them survived, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The block grant, you're right. I mean, we referenced it. I'll never forget sitting in your office when you were working for Irma, and because you did such a good job with Commissioner Putnam, that's the model that we all hold up now. So that's critical. Farm bill, you mentioned the farm bill. We desperately need a farm bill. That safety net, there's some great safety net language in there. That will help us when these types of things happen. So the House bill is a good bill. The last thing I mentioned, Senator.
I'm optimistic on the farm bill.
Pardon me?
I'm optimistic that we'll get the farm bill done.
I hope so.
I don't think there's any reason we don't. It'll be a bipartisan bill. So,
Yes.
and Bozeman's good. Bozeman does a really good job at building good relationships.
Well,
So.
there are just some really, really, really good things in that bill for specialty crops.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue in the farm bill is just any changes on the food stamp. Yeah. That's the only thing that. Otherwise, I think it's all, and I think that'll happen anyway. So.
Yeah, good. The last thing I'd mention, Senator, and this is an issue that you've been involved in for a very long time, is just the USMCA review. It's due in July 1st. I think it will probably drift past that.
Right, everything's
But,
drifting past.
We've had growers in and out of USTR lately quite a bit. Feel like you're listening to us. We're asking for a tier freight quota. We think that's the answer. But we can talk about all that later. I don't want to dominate the time.
We do. I think it would be important that I got a letter directly to. So will you work on it and get it to me? Get it to Clayton.
We would appreciate that very much. And yeah, Jameson Greer, Ambassador
Yeah,
Greer.
I've got a good relationship with Jameson. He's a good person, but it'll have. I think it'd be a positive. So if you guys, anything on that, if you guys would give me exactly what you want and draft a letter for me,
Absolutely. We'll do it.
I
Thank
think
you.
it would be helpful.
And I'll stop with that because I know others have things. So thank you. So
Okay.
again, most important.
Thanks. Nice seeing you guys.
Appreciate it.
Who's next?
I'll
Okay.
start.
Okay. Hey, Joe.
Senator, I want to say thank you. The first time that we met and interacted was during a disaster. That was Hurricane Michael, and I've told folks consistently that was one of the most impressive displays of leadership that I've seen was when I was a county commissioner and chairman and you were a governor, and just interacting, it definitely was absolutely impressive, and I sure appreciate it. And this
You were
time,
lucky it was
too.
my 4th hurricane. I learned on each of the hurricanes.
It was my first, and I was nervous, but I can tell you made it a very easy process. And likewise, here today, there's a disaster, and we know that you'll act. You'll hear more specifically.
It's harder when you're in the Senate than it is as a governor.
We understand. But I want to start off with a very positive thing. I want to thank the administration for handling DEF, the diesel exhaust fluid issue, and that's going to be a savings to agriculture of over $4 billion, to American consumers over $13 billion. It may be a small thing, but it affects every one of us in this room. And I'm grateful for it, especially when this hike of crisis in regard to fuel prices, a very small thing that in the future will have a huge benefit for us all. I want to say that the EUDR especially continues to be an issue, or European Union deforestation rule. is something that I know we've worked on, we continue to work on, but it needs some attention, especially in North Florida, where the forestry industry is definitely in a very desperate situation. Last thing, I think the Farm Bill is, I'm excited to hear that there's opportunity. We need it. But there's also a couple little poison pills in there, although for specialty crops, one of them is very helpful. But the Amendment 25 has caused a lot of consternation among some of our members. It has to do, it's labeled with ground greyhounds, but it actually could end up adversely affecting our livestock industry. It's a very important thing. I want you just, if you could, make sure that Senator Bozeman's aware, and we keep that out.
Okay. Do we have the detail on that? Okay.
I'm going to have it right there.
Okay, I'll make sure. Okay. And I'll see Senator Bozeman on Monday or Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So.
I'll leave it for everybody else.
Yeah, the most important thing on all this stuff is the more specific you guys are, it's easier for me to do my job.
On the left side of that is all that amendment. It actually, I highlighted some things in it that I think are really
Yeah, and the earlier you do it, it's way easier than something that's down the road.
I was going to wait, but since Jed mentioned that, I'll step in because we've been working on that in D.C. too. If it does, Farm Bill does come to the floor to have an amendment to strip that language out and pull it. So that's probably going to be our best approach directly with the dog thing. So I wanted to mention that. Another one to kind of be aware of, Senators, I believe it's S4007. It's Schumer bill, which is under the guise of lowering some grocery prices and bringing up competition in the beef industry stuff, but it's really a government infringement into a free market system, is what it is. It's those type of things that.
Well, if Schumer, it can't be very good. Right?
Well, yes, sir.
I've not seen him. I've been up there 7 years. I haven't seen a good bill from him.
Well, that was funny. I was talking to our folks in D.C. yesterday, and someone had a chance with the senator, and they said, "Well, tell him to bayonet that Schumer bill." And I said, "Which one?" And so we had the same thought there, but specifically we were talking about 4007. Yes,
okay.
sir. I did want to make sure. I know you don't have it, sir.
Have they said it's going anywhere?
No, sir. But we just like to make sure it's on your radar. That's it. I did want to, and I'll pass it to you when I see you there.
Okay.
We have our new Florida cattle pack tie. I know you like to be very fashionable in D.C. when you have to wear one, so we'll make sure that you get one to come around there.
I'll wear it this afternoon. I'm doing TV tonight. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll be glad to see it. I did want to say that when we talk about the freeze in our cattle industry, and you being a cattleman now, you're learning this and understanding this. A lot of times, but you're getting there. You're getting there. A lot of those damages that we don't maybe see till later because we can see that it kills the grass. We can see we have to increase our supplementation, but we may not see the damage until future calf crops. Maybe they don't breed back as well, right? Because their body condition score gets a little too low and they're not as reproductively sound. And so that's where we don't see that problem for 2 or 3 years down the road. There's not much that can be done on the governmental side of that, but it's always something to keep in mind whenever we come to DC with our policies. A lot of times the stuff we're looking at fixing is a 5, 10, 15-year plan. Not necessarily we gotta fix it right here today. But you've always had an open door. I won't take much more time because we'll be up there in a couple weeks for our annual trip to DC. So we're setting up a meeting with y'all. We'll see you in a couple weeks. So I won't take much time. But I did want to personally thank you. My wife received a very nice note from you the other day. She was the one Republican that was victorious in the special elections the other day and will be being sworn into the State House here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, is that right?
You sent her a very, very nice note, and she said, you make sure you tell him thank you for me.
Tell her congratulations.
So, yes, sir. So thank you for paying attention to that type of stuff happening here in your home state, and we appreciate everything. But I hope to see you in D.C. in a couple of weeks.
I'm sure I'll see you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're in session for 3 weeks. We should be up there this week, but
yes, sir.
It's not my choice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But we'll see you soon. So, thank you.
Yeah.
You've always had an open door, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Senator Scott, thank you so much for coming. Artist Hammock, a small sugar cane farm in Glades County. We're 108 years old, and to survive that has been tenacity of a family who has weathered lots of 26, 28 hurricanes, all the weather events. Your staffer, Josh Gelman, is on our South Florida Ag Tour as we speak. He might still be on the airboat, slipping and sliding. But thank you so much that you have sent your staffers down to see up close and personal what we do every day and how that we are a family of farms and that we get labeled big sugar, but when you come and see us, we're the real sugar, and we're so appreciative that you understand that. One thing I'd like to bring your attention to is there's talk, and had this conversation with Representative Franklin, a temperature policy for crop insurance. And that temperature policy would be great, and it would get in the weeds, in my opinion. My moonlighting job is with an attorney for crop insurance and Farm Service Agency appeals. So in that language, who and where can that measurement be? So right now, the only NOAA stations are Orlando, West Palm, Fort Myers, and Belglade. So the hurricane indemnity policy is dependent on NOAA weather data. And as you see on the map up there with U.S. Sugar, and Eric doesn't have a temperature map in here, but I've seen their temperature map, and it can be a swing of 5-10 degrees all through. It may be warm land, colder land. So I am all for and think it would be very beneficial to have a temperature policy, a freeze policy for Florida farmers. But there's got to make sure that when you get to that policy part of writing it, that there's a way to quantify that data. Right now, Farm Service Agency will not allow, it is not, you can't use your own temperature data. So there needs to be some language in there to assure that.
Do you have language?
I don't, but I'm sure one of these smarter people than me would.
We can get something together. Congressman Franklin has a draft. I've not seen the specific on the.
Okay.
But I'll circle back on that.
If you'll get it to me, get
Yes, sir.
get to Clayton.
That picture right there probably tells the best story from the freeze. And I mean, because it was all encompassing. And when Artis mentions the NOAA stations in Belglade, that temperature data is often 5, 10, 12 degrees warmer than what you see in the field.
Okay, 20 miles.
One of our southernmost properties was actually 19 degrees, and it was 31 in Belglade. So it's a major swing in difference. So we rely on that private data. We have temperature sensors throughout the farm, and most of these farms do as well. And so IFAS and FDACS have worked very well with us to develop a temperature map that we've used in an effort to calculate and capture the impacts of this event.
Okay.
One of the problems with the weather stations, like at Airglades, the first level's 2 foot. Well, if you've got peanuts or you've got a crop at the ground, radishes, you're closer than 2 feet. So it's 2 foot, 4 foot, and 6 foot increments. But when you see the 6 foot temperature colder than the 2 foot temperature, you know something's going on. So when you're going to rely on data, it's got to be accurate data for us, for it to trigger help for us. We don't ask for help very often. I think the last time was Wilma. And as farmers, we're proud. We don't brag about what we do. But this, as a small farmer, is devastating for us. And when it affects us as small, it affects our whole industry. I heard many years ago the government ought to do for the people what the people can't do for themselves. And this is something that we as farmers, we can't do for ourselves this time. But I have a little bag for you and a little note, and I will tell you that Congressman Franklin said that he didn't make it home to his wife, or when Amy found out, she was not very happy. So please share some with Miss Ann.
I will.
Thank you.
I'll share tonight. I will. Okay, but you're going to give me, you guys will
Yes, sir.
get specific. Okay.
Yeah.
Senator, the dairy industry in Florida, unfortunately, were one of those commodities that wasn't directly impacted by freeze, but will hurt those out to everyone. I want to just thank you for your past effort on the labor issue. You have been a champion, and a lot of staff calls over the years on that, and just for the dairy industry, we're very unique where we're not even allowed a federal solution. We're not allowed to have participation into the H-2A program because we're not classified as seasonal. We're everything. And we have tried for decades. We're not saying H-2A is perfect. I've heard enough stories, but we're getting squeezed here in the state and without any solution. And so that's one part of the H-2A. A lot of these folks have solutions and other fixes and issues that they're engaging. We would love to have an option to be a part of H-2A.
All you need is to say you're allowed.
We're classified for milking cows. There's certain aspects of our farm where we are allowed to have some H-2A. If it's a seasonal, that seasonality is the issue. For the core need that we have of milking those cows every day, we are not allowed to use H-2A workers for that. And it's going to take a fix.
And it is just because they said it's not seasonal. Okay.
So, we have other issues, but that is the bit. Having the labor for our 40 dairies that are left in the state, every day, 24/7, have to milk those cows multiple times a day. If we don't have labor, the care of that cow is in jeopardy. It could easily throw everything out of cycle and bankruptcy.
Okay.
And
I'll look and see if I can do it.
It's really only a few days away, so.
Senator, Chair Jim Jordan has got a draft that I think we're supposed to look at any day now of an immigration bill that tries to address a lot of these issues.
If you say immigration up there, everybody gets their hair up. But it's almost like it's the easier to just do it by itself. Like it has to impact the dairy industry all over the country, right?
And it's the
Nursery, dairy, I absolutely agree with you, but that standalone ag labor seems like it would have a much better chance than immigration because it's.
There's no way.
Amnesty.
There's no way.
I didn't
mean,
mean
right
right
now.
But we're anxious to see what kind of Jordan's bill looks like.
I can talk to. I see Jim every week, so I'll ask him. Okay. But Matt, Mike, do you need to do more than dairy?
Nursery, dairy.
Nursery.
Absolutely.
Nursery.
It's that 10-month.
Will you give me the list? Because that can't be just a Florida issue.
Oh, it's not. It is not.
So who's going to fight it?
The unions, the farm labor unions do fight it. And that's, they've got the ear of some of the Democrats.
There are some other avenues in livestock that could probably use livestock markets, for example, and other processing facilities. I mean, there's some other agriculture things that would benefit from that as well.
Okay.
In the livestock sector.
Mike, let's talk about that. Like timber, on one side, pine straw is H2A, tree planting is H2B. There's like little tweaks along the way in our various industries.
So who'll get back to me on?
I'll take that.
Will you get okay? So, but I think it's going to be. There's a better chance I have to do a standalone bill. I mean, I can just tell you, you can't get an immigration bill done right now. So there's nothing. You can't even have a conversation. I tried to fix the TPS program I got up there, and the Democrats blocked it every time. And it was so I got every Republican on board and didn't get it fixed.
Absolutely, it's something to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Senator Sam with Duda, and appreciate this conversation.
By the way, June calls me all the time. She keeps me informed how you guys are doing.
Thank you. We're 100 years old this year, celebrating that with all of our Duda locations throughout the United States. And I appreciate this conversation. We are in the cattle business, we're in the sugar cane business, in the fresh produce business, and I just echo what has been said here today, how painful that freeze was and devastating. And I think on the fresh corn piece, it's the customer interruption as well. So it was about 15, 16 weeks since we harvested corn. And so we've been out of the corn business. With that market disruption, there's that economic piece as well. So just wanted to share that as well.
Yeah, there's not the grocery store.
Correct.
Yeah, just in the grocery store.
We started harvesting 48 hours ago, so everyone look for the dandy label back in your grocery stores. We'll be back in it. But thank you for your time today.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
I just want to first start off by saying thank you. I took my family up to D.C. to see Clayton a couple weeks ago, and Senator Scott found out I was there, and he came out and gave my family about 15 minutes of his time, so I appreciate that. When he says he has an open door policy, he really, truly means it. But it was truly a highlight, especially for my kids. But I just want to say, with this freeze, from Pensacola down to Key West, everyone was affected. There was not one part of the state that was left out. So it was truly remarkable. I mean, it's worse than really a hurricane. You really have certain parts of the state that get to it. So it was completely devastating. When you have freezing temperatures down in, they said, in Havana, Cuba, for the first time, it's bad. So I just want to say thank you, and I just also want to say another thank you. For everything that everyone has said. You always stuck up for agriculture, especially here in the EAA when it was not the most popular thing to do. So I appreciate your leadership to take that lead and really stand up for the farmers. So thank you.
No, keep doing it. Just be vocal. The big thing. Jim, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll just add this. to everything that Matt shared about the citrus industry. The biggest thing is we just recently got the availability of a block grant, and we needed it 3 years ago. That's the only thing I want to add to everything that Matt said, is we really need this help sooner rather than later. There are many people in the citrus industry that are out of business now because they didn't have the money to carry on. You'll see today when we're in the grove the effect that it's going to have on us for the next couple of years. So, but I appreciate everything you do, and you've done good.
It's so frustrating because I had so many people, because I had to build it. Bill Sack he just wanted to screw us.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It was. It really was.
I mean, it just didn't make any sense.
And the sad part is we had the model that works.
And there was no
All you
fraud.
had to do is just stamp it and let it go again.
Yeah, and the state would have been responsible.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the state received the first block grant from USDA in February, and they're already sending checks out to most of the growers that were impacted by that.
Yeah.
So it's with this administration's help in getting those dollars to the state, you've got a great partner in FDACS, a great partner in the state of Florida.
I'll piggyback off of Jim too, because the input cost, our check to Mr. Wedgeworth at the other end of the table, I'm gonna write a really big check to Mr. Wedgeworth this year for the fertilizer cost. So not only are we looking at less production, we're looking at the input costs skyrocketing with our diesel and our
Hopefully the
fertilizer.
ceasefire works, and hopefully the strait gets opened.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Artie.
Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail, Keith.
Joe, you have anything?
Just thank you for coming down, and as always, your leadership, and especially in the Glades, has always been next just top level.
We got a lot of good stuff done in the Glades when I was governor.
For sure. And if it wasn't for your leadership, I think we'd still be battling over some of the issues that you seem to help fix. But no, just in the cattle business, which is the majority of what Hilliard Brothers is now, the long-term effects on these cows is going to be tough. Luckily, unlike everybody else in here, we didn't lose any cows to the freeze. They walk around with a fur coat. So at least we didn't have to start over. My brother, however, did lose 1,000 acres of sweet corn and 1,000 acres of green beans and 2 crops of watermelons because he planted, replanted, and both of them got wiped out. So it's definitely going to affect us. I know personally for our cow herd, our cost for feeding cattle through the winter is normally about $120 to $150 a head, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you put it on 7,500 head, and that's a pretty good number. This year, to date, I looked at it yesterday actually to tell Senator Moody, and we're at about $360 a head just in winter supplements.
What's happening is, have beef prices come down quite a bit?
No,
They stayed up.
they're pretty stable, thank goodness. That's the only saving grace we do have is the beef price is high.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the highest it's ever been.
But your drought.
The big concern that we have is the Mexican border. We really need to get it opened back up for imports of live cattle. The problem is we're losing feed capacity, and because feed yards are shutting down, they can't get cattle to put in their feed yard, and they're actually shutting down. We're losing some. Potentially, we'll lose packing houses over it. So we know that the screw worm's a bad deal, but we do need to get that border open back up for imports.
Yeah, we just have to do it in a scientifically sound way because of the screwworm damage. It's a tough situation we're in, but absolutely right. For the long-term sustainability of the industry, we've got to find ways. And there's talk now. That's why there's good talk now on the New Mexico and Arizona side of the border of maybe opening up those ports of entry away from where there's any screwworm right now to filter in that way. And we're maybe getting to a point with some of these screwworm facilities we're getting online and all where we can maybe do that safely. So yeah, economically it's put us in a tight situation, but we've got to considering the animal health problem there. It's a our industry is so different, and it sounds like a bad joke. oranges to oranges or apples to apples when you're comparing these commodities coming from other countries. Absolutely, direct competition and a problem. In our industry, we rely a little bit on some import-export just for our industry to be stable. And so it's a little bit, we absolutely 100% support our specialty crop guys and their concerns and their needs. But we just have such a different commodity that we have to approach imports and exports in a different way to stay economically sustainable. So it puts us in a different spot. But don't ever misconstrue that as being different than our specialty crop guys. We totally support them. We just got something a little different.
Yeah.
But just to kind of bring it back, we only produce about 25% of the lean meat needs to go with our fat for hamburger. So we have to import 75% of the lean meat that we need.
Because if not, you'd be turning ribeye steaks into hamburger, and economically that's not wise. And people like to eat ribeye steaks, and
well, people like hamburger also,
too, right? So
that does differentiate us from everybody else.
Right, exactly.
So let's break for lunch. I mean, come on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kevin, did you want to add anything?
Senator Kevin Copeland, Matt and Jim gave you the synopsis on Florida citrus, but let me give you a little good news about the citrus industry. I've been doing this for a long time, and for the first time in 20 years, I have optimism like I've never had. The therapies that we're employing today, thanks to you and your office, and I must say thank you, because your office responds to us that day. So thank you for that. And but we've got a model that now works. We've got therapies in the pipeline that we're using. We're seeing real results.
They're cost effective.
Sir, I had a navel orange this year that had 12 bricks, which I haven't seen that in probably 10 years. So we've probably got a product that we can put into the market, be proud of again. We still believe citrus is Florida's signature crop. I know some would argue that, but it's an economic contributor to the state, and thanks to you, we've made progress, and we're putting a lot of fallow acres back into citrus again. And I don't know about you, but there's a lot of houses in the state of Florida now. I'd like to keep a few more of those acres in citrus. So
Yeah.
thank you for all your efforts. We really appreciate it.
Okay, everybody feels comfortable and they know how to get hold of me or get hold of Clayton or Chief, and be as specific as you can be. There's a great chance I can help you. So, but I'll do whatever I can. So, because what you do is really important. It's not only important to the livelihood of our state, but you also create a lot of jobs. A lot of people rely on you for jobs. So, but I'll work on all these issues. But the more specific you are, there's a greater chance I can do it. So, and by the way, if you don't know Aaron and Lewis, we have 9 offices in the state, and so they run 2 of them. So if you need something, I've got a great team. I've got the way the Senate works, they give me a budget, so I've got 9 offices in Florida, and then actually I have 3 offices in D.C. now because I have 3 different committees. Then Rosa is out of Miami, so she's worked with me for a long time. So, but let me know. Pardon? Yeah, hopefully everybody knows Clayton. So I brag about Clayton a lot. But I have a really good team. And really care in both in the state and in DC. So, thanks for doing this, Eric. Thanks for hosting us.
Happy to.
Okay.
So thanks for making the time.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. I'm optimistic.
We'd love to do a group picture if we can with everybody. So I'm just going to clear these chairs and we'll do it right here if we can.
And
Thank you so much.
afterwards, for anybody that likes, there's sandwiches in the kitchen, so feel free to